Josh is a resident of Nosara, Costa Rica, and a partner in the real estate business Viva Tropical, one of the best sources of real estate information for Central and South America. In this interview, we talk about real estate investment in Costa Rica, as well as a lot of general information about the country.
I didn't really ever plan on coming long term. I planned on coming for some short stints, and then that changed and turned into long term. And I still look at it that way. I still look at it about every 6 months. I reevaluate, see if it's good for me, see if it's good for the family. But that's passed for the last 6 years. Compared to the other areas in Central America, it's just very developed. Some of the other places like Nicaragua, Panama, Guatemala are becoming more popular, but it's been in the last 15, 20 years, where Costa Rica has been popular for probably 30, 35. And so it has an extra 15 years of social development with expats coming down, and you just see that in a huge way. You notice it when you go to towns. There's always some expat there, pretty much. There's usually some Italian who has an Italian restaurant. And so you see it in the service industry. And when you compare that to the other places that you could go, it's just head and shoulders above. And what that means is easier living. Crime, petty theft. It's around all the time. It can be on your mind. It stinks for the most part. You learn to deal with it, and it's still worth it to live here, in my opinion, but it's not unsafe, but you might get something stolen out of your car if you aren't careful. Sometimes, every once in a while, something happens. I think you worry about crime because you don't trust law enforcement here. Law enforcement, I mean in the sense of actually accomplishing a goal. So sometimes, occasionally, you hear about some violent crime somewhere near you maybe. And it's worrisome because you don't really feel like the police will stop it. On the other hand, if you're comparing it to back home, and just like when you watch the evening news, it's just nothing compared to that. I mean, you're talking about a violent crime down here is maybe once every few years, at least that I hear about in this town, which we're in Nosara right now. But back home, you're just sort of desensitized to it. The difference here, I guess, is back home in the US, you get crime follows socioeconomic divide. So some parts of town have a lot more crime than others. In Costa Rica, it's kind of all lumped together, so it happens where people with money live. It still happens in those areas. We have health insurance, actually. We do, there's cheaper plans for expats that are outside the country for 330 days, and they cover major medical. You can go back to your home country and get work done if you want to. They even cover you in your home country when you visit, as long as you're out a certain amount of days. But then we deal with your kind of daily accidents. I have kids, things happen. In the community here, there's been broken arms and surprise surgeries and things like that. Most of that people all choose to do within Costa Rica. And I think contrary to what you read about, that the healthcare system's so wonderful here, it's all right. It's just that it's different. And I think that's the part you got to navigate. But back home, one of the big things is you listen to your doctor tells you something, and you say, okay, fine, I'll do it. Here, you really need to question everything. You need to question it because the technique they may be using may be antiquated, and it makes you a better patient because you start learning how to do that and being part of the process. But let's say they were going to do open heart surgery on you here, I would say definitely go somewhere else. The healthcare here is very affordable. And that's a great benefit. That part is true. You can go, like I went to the ER with my daughter not too long ago, and we were there for a night, and they had to call in a blood person, they had to call in an X-ray technician, They had to call in a surgeon, and so you have all these people. In the U.S., you know, my mind was like, oh God, this is going to cost like thousands of dollars. And then we went and paid, and it was $700. So that same thing in the States is, we also went to the ER in the States. We went to just a short procedure, and in the States it was $18,000, and this in Costa Rica, which was longer with more professionals involved, was $700. So you definitely, it's a better value here for sure. Costa Rica has a simple program, 90 days, anytime you come here, which covers most countries. And then you can get residency somewhere. A family can be around, it's about $1,000 a person to $1,500 a person, depending on who you go through. And then you don't have to leave the country as frequently.
These premium videos are available on Amazon Prime. The links are in the description below.
They're expensive, like anywhere. There's different price points. And you do end up needing an attorney far more often than you do from back home. Here, attorneys are involved in every transaction, from real estate to residency to selling a car. Often people run things through a corporation here, reducing liability, as well as it can make things a lot easier too. And so that requires an attorney. So you will need one if you live here. I find ones that usually work with expats is where I'd focus. And expensive doesn't mean better. I'm a real estate investor, been doing it for 20 years. And lately, an iteration of that has been vivatropical.com, which is a website that educates people about moving down here, as well as has a lot of real estate listings. We do a bunch of free ebooks for people who are looking to invest, and now that's our main source of business. I would want to know what their investment goals were. There's a lot of opportunity here. I think it's about expectations, and a common mistake you see a lot is people come down and they think it operates like their hometown or their home market or their home country, and it doesn't operate that way. You're dealing with different numbers. People think, well, there's a new road coming, which is a great way to possibly scout out an investment. But it doesn't mean just because the road is going there that anything's going to change fast. But people tend to think it does, and the reason they tend to think it does is because their home markets move quicker, money moves faster, the market's more efficient is what it comes down to. Here there's no MLS, so the efficiency drops massively. And how that helps you actually is that if you are willing to look around, you can find a deal. It's not uncommon to see like 10 houses for $500,000 and then one next to it it's the same for $200,000. But you wouldn't know that unless you put in the work and talk to all the people. So you're rewarded here for putting in time. So that's one thing. The other thing too is it's just smaller markets. Costa Rica gets 2 million people a year. Grand Canyon gets 3 million people a year. So you don't get actually that many people, and then those people, depending on the country, each one's different in this way, but in Costa Rica, that 2 million people is diffused around the entire Pacific coast mostly. So how many people are even going to a town? Most people buy and think this is cool, so I think people are going to come, and that won't hurt you probably long term, but short term, that's not going to help you at all. In Nosara, the best opportunities are probably long-term rentals right now. Short-term rentals can work if you can get a decent price on land, but it's not necessarily a place. It's really, I mean, first is price. You need a good price. Second is your strategy. You have to have a good strategy for what you're going to do. And then you have to know what do you want for return. I mean, investment, it's about rate of return and return on investment. So The way I invest is I'm looking for something specific that's the quickest possible way to return. Some people are just saying, you know what, I'm into land banking, they call it. I'm just going to buy something and wait 10, 15 years and it will be worth more, and that's my investment strategy. Well, and I'd point you in a totally different direction if that was your case. If you came to me and said, I want to have a decent return in 12 months, that's pretty fast for real estate down here, but I still would, where I'd point you then is an undervalued home that maybe could be renovated.
Please visit our best travel gear page on the livingoverseas.tv website. The link is in the description below. When you buy through our link, we may receive a small affiliate commission. There is no added cost for you, and it helps support our channel so that we can keep bringing you free videos.
What happens here, the normal cycle is people come down, it's more expensive than they think. So they think I need to start a business, and that's usually their great business idea comes from I need money. So what you see is a lot of people copying each other. You see people who really have no understanding of Costa Rican law, and they're always a little surprised by it's quite expensive in some ways to run a business here. And labor law is not very helpful to the business owner compared to where most of us come from as expats, North America and Europe. So there is definitely opportunity, but as always, you got to kind of know the rules of the game to be successful. So I would say get to know the rules before you go jumping in to your pizza shop or whatever, your four-wheeler rentals. Sometimes I buy, sometimes I rent. I still look at buying homes as an investment, so if there's a good deal, I'll buy it. The market's changed. When I got here 6, 7 years ago, it was just more economically prudent to rent, because you could rent a $1 million home for like $1,500 a month. That's changed now. It's now becoming probably a better idea to buy a house in the town I'm in. So I have begun looking again. Speaking Spanish it's not a must-do, but it'll make your life better, and it'll be much better for connecting to any local people, local traditions. But you don't have to. A lot of people in Costa Rica speak English, so you can get by without it, and a lot of people do. Costa Rican people are some of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. Very traditional ways of life. That has been greatly influenced by expats moving, so you see that more in the coastal areas where the local Tico community has more influence by what expats are doing. But you can always get away if you want to go to the traditional roots lifestyle and just get out of any beach area usually and get up 20, 30 miles away, and it's pretty amazing. Nice people. What I miss the most is just there's convenience back home. You can get anything you want whenever you want, and here you never can. The entire system is less efficient, and you just can't get stuff sent to you reliably. Import-export takes a long time often. So I don't think a business would change it as much as, you have to do a whole revamping of the regulations. So you've decided, hey, I like Costa Rica, where am I going to go? I've read about this town, and this seems cool, and that's a good place to start. But what I always tell everybody is it's community-based. We could live in hell if we had a great community, but it's hard to live in a great place if you hate everybody. So it's about meshing a community with your personality and what you want, and you can't figure that out until you go somewhere. Like, what's the difference between Nosara, Samara, Monteverde, Santa Teresa, Dominical? When you read about those places, it's kind of hard to tell the difference. And then there's micro communities within these communities that may resonate with you. And then there's different prices. So you're kind of balancing prices and community. And so the best way is to go, and you can do it fast. Sometimes maybe it takes a week and you realize that's the place for you. Sometimes it takes a day. But I always tell everybody, come down and check it out before and get a little look around, rent a place. If you really want to get into the research, rent a few places, check out some different places that way. Personally, I think you can get paralysis by analysis if you just keep thinking about it and not moving forward. I don't think you have to take too long, but you definitely got to come down if you're going to move to a place. And you don't have to come down forever. I think another thing that's a big deal is that everybody thinks about moving down here, if they're doing it, as a permanent thing. But it's not permanent. It's not like getting married. You can leave any time you want. So I think that's also important, is to approach it with the whimsy of travel, not the permanence of a move. And I think that leads to being a lot happier. You have to know the market a little bit. There's definitely things that we'll do is we'll point people to resources like on our website. We have at this point the only Costa Rican numbers on the market, total market, median prices in towns, cost per bedroom, some nice analytics that give you a sense of well, how do I break this into pieces? Median price for an acre. So that's one thing. Definitely check out vivatropical.com. The other thing is you do have to know the market a little bit. One thing I would just outright say is I would never listen to the realtor that it's a good deal. They may be perfectly honest, but get more than one opinion for sure. And just plan on triangulating. Plan on going to look at property with one guy and then go with the other guy and go with the other guy. And you'll be surprised at what you learn by doing that. Real estate sales in Costa Rica is different because in the States it's more regulated. There's a board of people watching over the industry. It has its own watchdog. Here it does not, and it doesn't take much. And in many cases that is all you need is a business card to start selling property. Also, there's just the inherent motivation of a salesperson, and that is that they can't make money unless they sell you something. So even if they're the nicest person in the world, of course that gets into the way when we're talking about ethics, at least partially. So you have to be, that's why you go and talk to other people, because you find somebody that you trust. That's really what it comes down to. And so you shop till you find someone you can believe in. The right reasons to move here are that you want an adventure, that you really think you'll like living there, not because it's cheap. If you're coming because you think it's cheap, there's really better value in a lot of ways, just overall lifestyle value in the southern U.S. Go to Florida, go to Alabama, Georgia, anywhere in there. The Rust Belt it's just less expensive in a lot of ways, and you don't, just when you factor in the move and you factor in some of the challenges of being down here. But if you want an adventure and you want something different and you want more freedom and you want more nature, then those are all great reasons to come down.
If you're enjoying this video, please remember to subscribe and click the bell so you'll be notified when the next video is up. Please give us a like and leave a comment. It helps support our channel so we can keep bringing you videos like this.